I'll say real quick, the order of everything when it comes to correcting status. This is the master file blueprint, by the way, that you're looking at. This is also my teaching tool. This is the tool that I teach from when I decide to teach. So this is the order of everything. Those of you who know I've been working on this for some time. It used to be for a donation of $150. Now it's for a donation of $175. And hopefully once we finish all we're doing over here, it'll no longer be available for donation. So you should make your donation now so you'll have access to it. Anyway, the first thing that one would do, which we just added to here too, is a last will and testament. This is a very simple, basic last will and testament that only has two major purposes. One is to convey the estate and trust, the decedent's estate, and to pay the funeral expenses and the debts of the decedent. I said two purposes. There's more purposes. One of the most significant purposes, which is in alignment with our research, is to appoint the executor, the general executor for the estate, because you want some type of record of the appointment of the executor of the estate. Now, as I put here in the master file, you record a last will and testament to appoint the executor and transfer the estate into an existing trust. Really, that trust is going to be, I feel, for me, myself, the best practice is now I establish a living trust, which is also consistent with everything we're doing in the master file. So the living trust exists, and it's also in the decedent's will as well as the living will that the decedent's estate, after all debts are paid, will be passed into this trust. The importance of a living will and a decedent's will, I believe, if you're handling the proper distribution of your property through a living trust, then I think the real purpose of having a decedent's will, as they like to call it, is so that you can cover the basis of having the office of the executor appointed under the last will and testament. Now, I'm not going to go all the way into that research, but I think more people who've been studying this for some time understand that the most powerful form of trust to direct your affairs is the will, which is why there's so much drama about recording the will. However, I found that to affect the process of correcting your status, it may not necessarily be important to publish the will, although you may want to do that. Many of the counties will deposit the will. So you bring the will down to the county, you deposit it, they give you a receipt. That receipt is a location for you. It shows you where the asset is. So I said all that to say, I think it's important, and the first thing that I would do in regard to correcting status is execute some form of a will. A real will is the best thing to do, but in that will, I think what is most significant is that the, how can we say it, in your proper status, that you are named the first executor for the estate. And then should your time on this earth expire and you move on, then your secondary executor, successor executor, would be the person who, under abnormal circumstances, when people do wills, they try to appoint an executor after they're dead. Well, that would be your secondary executor, because we're dealing with the living estate and the decedent's estate. We're just dealing with the estate in general. All right? So, one more time, you see, I, the undersigned, John Alex Doe, whose address of domicile is. This probably, I think you could say address of domicile. Maybe you don't want to use the term address. You may just want to say whose domicile is. This probably should come out. I'll try to remember to take that out. I, the undersigned John Doe, whose domicile is. And then I put General Post Office. Do I want to go into this right now? Yeah, we're going into this. So don't worry about this here, but this is how I feel the address for the general delivery should be properly written moving forward. The -9998 is a mistake again. So we're glad we're doing this. You got to watch the video. This 9998 directs the communications to the postmaster. So yeah, you don't want to direct the communications to the postmaster in this regard. You want to do 9999 because you're going for the general delivery. I'll explain that more. Actually, you could research that. So just know that this should probably be a 9999. Also, this is a last will and testament. It's probably going to be under seal. so no one's going to see it unless it has to be cracked. And you know, you can always update this. So I think it's imperative that you get something in the record now. Make sure you establish a beneficiary. And now here's the thing: if you're going to establish the beneficiary to be a trust, then you have to make sure that that trust is already in existence, or you're going to probably have a problem, right? So make sure that there's a record of that trust and who the trustee is, so the property can properly pass to the trust. This is not legal advice or anything. We're just talking about the things that I'm doing for myself. But once again, you can do your own research on why the will and testament is required. What I was going to say though is, this is the last will and testament for the John Alex Doe. What is the John Alex Doe? That's the estate, right? And why are we setting this will up? Because we're dealing with the estate. We want to establish the officer of the executor for the estate. What is the executor? He's a general executor. So he's a general, just like an attorney general, just like a postmaster general, just like the commanding general. Now, if you want to help me with my research, if you can find something definitive in regard to the chain of command, who's the higher general? Is it the postmaster general or is it the general executor? My gut feeling tells me it's going to be the general executor, because the postmaster general, which deals with the communications, is the first office of government, governing the mind, the gold mine, governing the estate. So I think typically the office of the general executor is not occupied in the living estate. Therefore, that's why they come in with the blind trust or the cestacade trust, administering the estate. And the post office is the first office of government. So just kind of connecting those dots together leads me to believe that when you occupy the office of the general executor, it is the highest office, and therefore you give notices that you are the general executor. Okay, so that just kind of, I'm saying this because you have to think in the mindset of when you communicate, when you're correcting your affairs, when you're directing the matters of the estate, where your authority is. Because when you have authority, you may ask less questions in certain circumstances and give notices and give directives and give orders, right? Just something to think about. So, but the most significant point of this is what I was trying to say is that the John Alex Doe estate is the will hereby nominate and constitute Doe L. John Alex, more of the true name, whose domicile of origin is, Glendale Territory, California Republic, non-domestic, trying to keep him on land, right, in his proper status. He's appointed as the executor of this, my will, and administrator of my estate. I didn't say decedent's estate, living estate, whatever estate, the entire estate. Now, here's the deal. So, and in the event the aforesaid party predeceasing or otherwise unable to serve as the executor. So should something happen, or this party is legally stopped, decapitated, or in any instant can't be the executor, then it will fall in line to someone else who's trustworthy, hopefully, that understands what's going on. They understand an estate, a blind trust, and what's going on, so that you can have somebody knowledgeable working on your behalf. Anyway, the thing is, you want to get this recorded so that you can reference it, whether it's in the public record or whether you can give a location to it by the receipt number. That is significant. Why is it significant? Because there's a reference to the appointment of the executor in this executor letter. Go to the website, thctrust.org, and you log in. Oh, I'm already logged in. I'm logged in as John Alex Doe. So if you go down here to the executor and the estate, actually, let me go back there and zoom in so you can see what I'm doing here. If you log into the website, you go here, you create a free account, you go down here under the executor and the estate. This is where you're going to find this. Then you have these two articles here, preparing the executor letter. All right. And now if you do this, and by the way, anyone can get access to this by just creating a free membership on the website. If you do this, then all the references that I talk about, you can come in here and you can click these. These are links. You can click them and see the references of why we've done this letter this way. So now let's click the letter. And I think I have it right now. Okay, I do have it here. I don't know if this was the latest. It probably isn't. This was from maybe 2012 or something when that research was heavy out there. All right, so what we're looking at here is the executor letter by David Clarence. And I'm just going to just point out the things that I changed. And of course, you know, yeah, I'm going to leave out the things that I changed. And you know what? I don't know David Clarence personally, so if I get any email from David Clarence or somebody that he wants me to take his letter down out of here, I would do that. Okay, but I believe, you know, I got this from somebody via email. There used to be a bunch of emails going around. It wasn't really a private thing when I got it. I think this went out to a lot of people, and I don't think he has a problem with that. I hope not. So what we see here, so what are we actually doing here? Everything we're trying to do is correct matters in regard to the estate. And we know that there's many constructive and express trusts operating as cestacade trusts or blind trusts or beneficiary trusts, whatever you want to call them. There's all these trusts that typically you're not operating as a trustee, but you're being made the surety and the liable party when it comes to matters in regards to the estate. Many of these trusts are operated by agencies. Those are the operators of the trust. So part of the whole endeavor of correcting the status is expressing the trust, knowing that you're the trustee and operating properly as a trustee. Okay? So that's kind of where things stand. So when we look at what is happening so what are we really doing here? First, let's just read what's in the body of this. It says, it's an order basically to the office of the postmaster, which the postmaster, I believe they should say office of the postmaster general. And if not, I sent it to the office of the postmaster general, because the postmaster general is the first seat of government, or governing the mind, which is trying to take control over the body and the estate and everything else, in one perspective. So the post office being the first seat of government, one that we probably don't really look at as government as much, but they would be pretty authoritative by being the first seat of government, the postmaster general, right? So but once again, all of these people are operating as trusts where there is no executor, you know, where your estate is not being administered. They come in as a constructive trust. So once again, all of this is about correcting the status. This particular status deals specifically with the estate and is not really to be mixed with commerce. I think this is very key. This is something that Mr. Clarence has expressed. This is not to be mixed with commerce. So when you notice, even on our letter, we don't really do anything with commerce. This right here is tax per Q, which is tax exempt. So it's not really commercial related. We use this term right here, transit à découvert, which is, I guess it's French, but it also is in alignment with the Universal Postal Union, which says for intertransit mail, you're entitled to free delivery. So we're operating under the Republic and everything else. So let's go a little bit further into it. But what I was trying to say is, we're first dealing with the mailing location for the estate. Mr. Clarence was very precise. He doesn't use the term address. So you don't use the term address unless you really mean address. You're updating the mailing location, because addresses signify commerce. They're in commercial areas. And we're dealing with business in regard to the estate based off the status of things, but not commercial dealings. So the one way that I like how you do this, he says, to the office of the postmaster, as occupant to the executor office to David Schroll Estate, you are herein and hereby warranted to change the postal location for the above individual from 5310 whatever. So the thing is, he's changing the postal location. You're hitting him right under his obligation of what he's required to do as a fiduciary and everything else. And then it's like one of those other things. No one ever tells you what your address is. You usually write what your address is. No one ever tells you what your location is. You usually volunteer that information, and when you volunteer addresses, you are putting yourself in commerce. We have some other references on thctrust.org. When you go back here, we put all kind of references here that will, where's it at? Let's go back to THC Trust real quick. Let me show you something. once you go under this post office here, you can go into the truth about zip codes and citizenship, and it'll give you the breakdown of why you have to be careful of using zip codes, because zip codes traverse districts and commercial zones, and they cause taxes and statutory contracts and things like that. When you want to operate under the republic, you're entitled to free transit. So you have to go back and go through all the research to further understand why the beautiful executor letters of David Clarence and I have the essence of what they have in them. You have to go into the history where we have the origins of the laws of the UPU, tax per cube for transit and single postal territory, the information about that. These are all articles, and then you can go into the truth about zip codes and things like that. Now, so you're telling them to change the postal location. You're not going in there filling out a change of address form. You're not doing anything statutory like that. Now, this is not for you, the timid. This is for those who know how to be assertive, those who know how to direct their affairs, those who know how to be an executor. This is not gonna do you any good if you're not ready for it. You know within yourself if you're ready for this. You know if you're ready to put it down. Do us a favor and just continue to research if you're not ready to put this down, because then you harm us that are ready to put it down, and then I'm catching the slack because, you know, if I charge you for it, then all the haters is going to come out. If I give it to you for free, the people in the background is going to come out saying you're giving this for free. And I understand where they're coming from, because if you're not ready for this, you go over there looking incompetent, they send you back like a dog with your tail wagging between your legs or whatever, and then somebody like myself is competent has to go that much harder to get these things done. Just take this as me sharing research on top of it, and don't do this if you're not ready for it. I'm like 7 years in the game, and I'm just now ready for this. Not putting a timeline on your research, but right now just go through the reference material and take this PDF somewhere and record it for when you're ready. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, keep it for when you're ready. So we're telling him to update the postal location, right? These are the only changes that I've made, right? So you can read David Clarence's letter. I'm going to go directly into what I says. He says 8.5 by 14-inch paper. These are the changes that I made. Foremost, you'll notice that I use all capital letters. Now, I believe that this is dealing with the estate. Remember, the Postmaster General is the first office of government. Government is governing the mind. Governing the mind, which is saying there's nobody home, so we're taking control of the office and taking control of the property and the estate. So that's why people communicate with you through the post office. So it's important how you receive the communications, engaging in perceived contracts. I'm not the expert on this. I'm where y'all are at this. When you update the postal location, if you're doing this seriously, at the same time, you don't want any more general correspondence coming to your domicile or to your home as the way we've typically been doing it, right? So what are the solutions to that? Maybe you want to get some private post office, contract some service to receive your mail in care of. Maybe receive it in care of a trust, a P.O. box. Maybe that's a solution for you. Or maybe you just want to use general delivery, right? Maybe you really want to use general delivery and continue to go check for mail at your general post office and going in there to the counter asking for mail via general delivery. I don't think you really want to do your business that way, but you do want to have that general delivery in place for matters regarding the estate. For example, correcting your status, doing things with the Secretary of State, doing things with your recorder. You want to use your tax per cube and general delivery and your 9999 or 9998, depending on what type of business you're doing. But let me go ahead and break this down. The reason why I switched to all capital letters is because out of the International Mail Manual. The International Mail Manual is also the infrastructure, the protocol policies and the laws under the UPU and the UPC, which is the way that all countries or all participants in this one jurisdiction known as the one postal territory established by the UPU. See, when you put a stamp on your documents and you sign through the stamp and all of that, you're bringing them under the international jurisdiction of the UPU because you're using the stamps. Now, according to their regulations about how you address communications, the address is supposed to be in all capital letters. It's the same in military communications correspondence manuals. So since we are giving directives and orders to postmaster generals and other postmasters, which are officers in the military, in the admiralty, dealing with the estate on this type of level, then I feel we should keep it in accordance with those standards. So why do I know this? Because I was in the Marine Corps and I used to draft correspondence for commanding officers, colonels, and we used to use military correspondence manuals, which were the same manuals that they use internationally, like the Administrative Support Manual and things like that. So there's a standard going on. So this letter is following an international standard, if you will. So that's why I use Courier New 12-page. Now, here's the deal. If you really want to get granular, I believe any communications coming from the office of the executor should be sent in executive format, meaning the way that the president sends communications, the ways that a commanding officer or commanding general, postmaster general would send military-style executive directive-giving, order-giving communication. So this is why we use this. This is executive. This is the way that you write these communications. What is a good reference for this? Well, this is not legal advice or anything, and I'm not saying that these are the authorities. This is what I learned to use drafting military correspondence. So if you go into, where is it at here? We got to go back. So this is where we were, preparing the executor letter, right? Under here, right? This is called, Google the SSIC manual. You want to Google the SSIC manual. And here's where I said, preparing executive letters and notices from the Office of the General Executor, right? Remember, the Office of the General Executor, he's a general officer. So you got to send executive communications, executive correspondence. This is the best guide or template to learn to send executive correspondence. I didn't make this clickable because this is a military website, but it is public information. I don't want to be linking to military websites. So you can copy this link right here, copy it, and then you can paste the link in your browser. I'm going to paste it because I want to show you what this is and what you're looking for. And I know this because this is what we used to use to draft executive communications. Now, this probably won't make sense to you if you never drafted executive communications or you've been in the military, but when you take this manual and you relate it to the executive letter that I created, then you will understand. So I'm just scrolling. You should read through this manual. It's not that long. It's going to be very informative. I'll share with you some of the things that it will tell you. But this is really helpful when you're dealing with the Admiralty and the Executive Office, because by the structure and the form, you're obligating them to take certain notice and do certain things because it's all military from their angle. Right? So this is telling you how to address an envelope and all the things if you really want to get to that level. Notice all the addresses, they're in all capital letters. When you look at how do you address things, all capital letters. Okay? But where are we getting to? Where I want to get to is the sample letters. These are the sample letters, right? They show you a percentages of space. You know, these dots are spaces. You know, like you hit the space bar, space bar, space bar, space bar. Right? So notice how everything is lined up. The pitch is Courier New or Courier. But everything I'm telling you is in this manual. It's really worth a read to take your writings to the next level. And once you understand, once you read through it one time and you know what everything is in this letter, you make one letter, you have the basic format, which SSIC is a Subject Standard Identification Code, right? This is for government or military correspondence. This is how you direct the subject matter, whether it's personnel, communications, estate stuff, citizenship, whatever. So there's a manual. You can Google the SSIC manual and you'll know what to put here. Anyway, this is a template. This shows you how to do your from line. Notice the from line is activity head. If you would have read this if you would have read this PDF, you would know that the from line should never be an individual name. It should be an activity head. So in the matter of your estate, it'll be from the estate, from the office, from the executor's office of the estate of whatever. It's not from your name. From the executor office of the estate of whatever. Because you're an activity, you're a unit, you're not an individual, you're operating an estate. It's kind of funny because this military correspondence manual that tells you how to draft executive level communications is precise for what you need to know and for what you need to know. For what you need to be doing. So it gives you all kind of letters, how to write an endorsement, how to give an instruction, how to do whatever. You probably wouldn't have to do all of those things. How to mark your things for classified, confidential, secret, what all of these different things mean internationally pretty much, and how to sign, things like that. So you have that information, and I just wanted you to know that is the that is what I used. That is what I used in drafting, in the revisions. I didn't draft, the revisions that I made to the David Clarence executor letter, where really what he's doing is giving notice to the postmaster, which I'm giving notice to the postmaster general, giving him notice and an order. I'm giving him the notice of the occupation of the office of the executor, and I'm giving as appointed under the will, and I'm giving him an order to update the postal location for the estate. Why? Because the first office of government is delivering mail to the estates. It's a business function, to be honest with you. You got to go into some of those references that I pointed out earlier on the website. You'll better understand that. Go into the origin of the post office, the Postal Reorganization Act. You'll begin to see that this is the when they're delivering mail to the address, they're delivering mail to the estate has been established by the certificate of live birth. But when you deliver mail to an address and a residence, you are putting that estate under citizenship and subject of the United States. And it's all by volunteer, because we contract with them by receiving the mail at these individual districts of the United States by the way of the routing zip codes and things like that. So we have to go into the office of the general post. You see what I'm saying? See why that's important? Yes. So what am I missing here? I think I'm forgetting something. So when you go into the International Mail Manual, that's what IMM stands for. Again, those references, all of those references are between this page right here and, you go to this post office link, you can find the International Mail Manual and all of these different things. They're all in there. But okay, so according to the International Mail Manual 742.2, this talks about how the postal union, or the postal territory, the one postal territory, is supposed to treat mail indicated as tax per queue. I'm not going to go into that because you can read it yourself. Many of you know what that means is tax exempt. Now you guys may say, well, but I thought that was mail. Why are you putting that on your document? For those who have eyes to see, those who have ears to hear. I'm not going to explain everything about this, because if you can't pick up everything about this, then you shouldn't be doing this. Or if you have the master file and you have my number and you want to know more and you think you're competent enough and there's more to know, maybe you can give me a call and I can see what you know, and then we can go further into that. But anyway, there it is right there. You got to research this stuff. Don't go do it until you research it. But again, I said once again, by stamping a document, you are putting it under the Universal Postal Union, right? This is a kind of an international document, if you will, because it's in the United States of North America, which, again, for me, I use the United States of North America because my treaties, when you say the United States of North America, that is within the domicile, because that puts me under the treaties that applies to Moorish Americans being in the United States of North America. right? So that's why that's the proper jurisdiction, and I've seen that recognized in uh, uh, statutes that deal with the General Post Office. So there's a lot that goes into this. So once again, all capital letters, because in an international mail manual, that's how they say to address it. General Post Office, how does that work? You know, I have to correct this. This is your address at the top. The John Alex Doe Estate, Executor Office, General Post Office. Okay, no, this is correct. This is correct. Glendale Territory. Remember, I'm only using territories. I'm not sure if Glendale's really a territory. I may have to look into that. But you may use a county, maybe. Look into that, because these are things that could be construed to be under the common law. California Republic for sure. The other thing is United States of North America. That's definitely non-domestic. 9998 routes communications to who? The postmaster. So this is okay, right? This is routing it to the postmaster in the Republic, right? Where there is tax-exempt transit of mail for, so you're routing it to the Postmaster General. Now, I use this as, you have to make your own determination here. Honestly, this is wrong. There's no determination to be made. I don't know. This is just wrong. So excuse me here. This should be 9999. This is general delivery, okay? It says General Post Office because we're being more specific with the original Office of Government. But I'm sorry, this should be 9999, right? There you have it. Google Domestic Mail Manual General Delivery, or just Google General Delivery. You'll find out. The way that works is you find out where your postmaster is. Remember, there's a Postmaster General, which is the original office established in Washington, D.C. Then you have your postmaster, who is an officer in your local county or your local state. You have different postmasters. It's all military. That's why, if you notice this this letter coming from the General Executor, not an individual. It's a General Executor. He's the person in the activity. It didn't come from a name. The General Executor of the Office of the General Executor of the John Alex Doe Estate, General Post Office, Oakdale, California, 9999. That's where it's coming from. It's coming from the Office of the General Executor. It's going to Benjamin F. Franklin, the Postmaster General. The subject is Notice of Correction of the Location for the John Alex Doe. This is unclassified. They already know when they have to change that mailing location, they take out those zip codes. You're not in the district. You're telling him directly to put this in the proper jurisdiction and register it accordingly where the John Alex Doe estate needs to be administered, being that I am the executor. But now here's the key. There's a via line here. This is military correspondence. This is the way that you do it. Via means I'm sending this to Benjamin Franklin, the postmaster, via my local postmaster. So I'm sending it to Benjamin Franklin, the Postmaster General, the highest officer in charge, because I'm the Executor General, one step higher up than him, but I'm going via the first officer, which is the Postmaster, the first officer in that specific office. I'm sending it to the Postmaster saying, send this to your boss, but I'm sending it via the Postmaster of my local authority, because he's probably going to be the one that has to make the local corrections. And what corrections do we want him making? Once again, we don't want to be receiving mail at zip codes no more. So you have to know what you're doing, what you're trying to affect, and you can't prejudice what you're doing by continuing to do your business as a debtor and getting bills, names, and all of these things to your address and your zip code. You have to stop that. You have to kill that, and you have to probably do that with this notice or a similar one. Now, the thing that you will learn about this type of letter when you use a via line under the military law and international communications like this, and the Admiralty, I guess you would say it, executive correspondence, you require this officer to put an endorsement. So now, because you sent him this type of letter in this type of format, you're requiring him to receive this, put an endorsement on it in about 30 days, whether he approves it, has questions on it, whatever. His endorsement goes to Benjamin F. Franklin, the Postmaster General, forwarding the communications up the chain of command. That's how it's done. And this is an action item. Dear Postmaster General Franklin, now here's something else that I did. This is a notice to correct the mailing location, right? But it's also an order. I wrote an order. So we learned something in the Marine Corps which is very good. It's very good. It's called the 5-paragraph order. It's a nice, simple, basic way to give an order. The 5 elements that must be in an order. You lay out the situation that's giving rise to the need of the order. You lay out the mission, the objective that should be accomplished by the order, what is going to be done, the execution, the how and the order itself, basically, the administration and the cancellation. I think those are the exact words. I took the same format. You can Google that. The references, once again, are under the General Executor Estate tab or the Postmaster tab. It's going to show you. You can Google the word SMEAC, Situation, Mission, Execution, Administration, cancellation. I think one of these might be wrong, but that's the keyword. SMEAC is how you write what's known as a 5-paragraph order. The situation is the foregoing notices. Now remember, I'm the General Executor of the Office of the Executor General for the John Alex Doe Estate, right? The General Post Office for that estate, and it's kind of, let's say, sovereign capacity, right? I'm dealing with Benjamin F. Franklin, the Postmaster General, Office of the Postmaster General, and I'm putting a stamp on my document, bringing this into that international territory, right? But whether I'm a nation or not, I'm an operator for sure. So I still am in that international territory. You got to research the UPU to know what I'm talking about right there. So, anyways, I'm giving the postmaster a notice, but I'm a general, so I'm also giving an order. Dear Postmaster General Franklin, the situation. The foregoing notices prevent the unwarranted invasion of privacy caused by executors de sanctort and third-party interveners intermeddling with estate affairs. I'm basically saying I need these notices to let everyone know that I'm the executor because third parties are intermeddling in the estate affairs, creating bonds and things of the such. So now that I'm the executor, right, mission, to publish and here's the mission, to publish and promulgate the appointment and acceptance to the Office of General Executor for the estate of John Alex Doe in accordance with the reference. What is the reference? The will and testament dated whatever date, recorded in whatever county or wherever it is, wherever you could reference the location of that will. That's what we were talking about earlier. So that's why that has to be done first. And this is how you incorporate a reference. You put it up here. This is all done out of the Military Correspondence Manual or the NED MAC 5216. And anyway, so that's the situation. The mission is to stop the situation is the foregoing notices prevent the unwarranted invasion of privacy caused by executors de sanctort, go look that up, and third-party interveners intermeddling in the estate affairs. Executors de sanctort is people acting as executors on their own authority without the proper authority to do so. The mission is to publish and promulgate the appointment and acceptance to the Office of General Executor for the estate of John Alex Doe in accordance with the reference and correct the mailing location for the estate names, including John Alex Doe, John D. Doe, accordingly. And then what is accordingly? 3. Then we go into the execution. As occupant to the Executor Office to the John Alex Doe estate, you are herein and hereby warranted, this is right out of David Clarence, to change the postal location for the above person from, right? The estate is a person, I think that's okay. So to change, you are warranted to change the postal location for the above person from 123 Thompson, whatever, Oakdale, California, 12345. I give the statutory citizen tie-in commercial, send you through the district, commercial codes, person, citizenship, address. We want to change it from that to the following. The international address. General Post Office, Glendale Territory, California Republic. They don't want to contract with you under the Republic because you have rights and they can't contract under the Republic. United States of North America. That's automatically non-domestic. That puts you in the Republic where your treaties, specifically peace and friendship treaties, are applicable To better understand that, you can go to the master file and see the work that I did in regards to the treaties and international documents that apply to indigenous people. Administration. Personal record keeping regulations are found in Part 293 of Title V of the Code of Federal Regulations. You can put whatever under here. This is administration. How this is to be administered. But I just went with personal record keeping because you're letting them know. You can't just dismiss this, right? When you receive a notice and it's in the proper format, especially if you're the postmaster and it's for your boss, you can't dismiss this. You have to put an endorsement on it because it's in the proper format. It's a military format. It's by the General Executor, John Alistair Estate. So I put a copy to Postmaster General in advance. You put advance if that's going advance to him because it's significant. Even though it has to go to him via, he's going to get an advance copy. A copy to the UPU. You may want to put a copy to your state governor, who's another military officer in the happen to, right? So again, the only real changes is I use the terms territory and republic instead of providence and nation because those tie you into the republic, they tie you into the treaties. And I use the United States of North America. I don't use outer-lying islands because I just don't think it's necessary when you use the United States of North America and you have treaties that are going to become a part of your status and standing, which is not in this video, but there. Also, notice I have the usually in military correspondence, this would be your office code. Since we really don't have an office code, I say use your registered mail number. Your registered mail number would be the number that you use to mail this to mail your original to the postmaster, to the via postmaster. The original has to go to the via. He will put an original endorsement on the via and send it up to his chain of command to the Postmaster General. Only a copy in advance would go to the Postmaster General. So if you're using this registered mail number, you want to make sure that you have it so that can be the one that where you give the notice of the, and why is it registered mail? Because 13 numbers, private jurisdiction, 13 stars, republic, etc. You get it? So, and it's the private side. You're sending it to him, and you have the record that it went. That's your tracer and everything else. So you would use that registered mail number and envelope it if you didn't deliver it to him in person over the counter, right? So just some things to think about. Open letter mail, that may be another reason why executive communications always have the letters in all capital letters, because this is a different jurisdiction going up here. Open letter mail, international jurisdiction. Get into your international mail manual. Let's see, is there anything else to be said by here? No, I think I about touched it, right? Oh, by the way, this is a part of the master file, even though it is free. If you want to donate for the master file, you should do so now, because before long, it'll be unavailable and you'll only be able to get it if I'm teaching it to you directly or one of the other researchers that you guys really don't know about, some very scholarly brothers, unless you're in one of their classes also. So again, you go into here, you get all the laws about the UPU. This is the origin. Everything in here is clickable. You can click this. I'm not going to click these things. These are your statutory authorities. And these are also what you want to do if you're having a problem with the post office, and you want to figure out what they're required to do. In my research, I found that postal service employees are under more statutes than almost anybody else. They're under federal statutes, local statutes. They're under the CFR. They're under the UPU. They're under the International Mail Manual, which, by the way, the International Mail Manual is incorporated in the CFR. All that stuff is in here in these references. So I've been making some updates to the website. Lastly, once again, you're looking at the master file. The flow of it is this, as we said. You do your will and testament, right? Then you do your executor letter. You send that off, you finish that. Then you get down into authenticating your birth record, doing all that, putting your affidavit of title on the original certificate of title, creating one document of title. As we discussed, there's all kind of videos talking about that. That is the essence of your county recording. You have to have that affidavit of title on the birth certificate in the county, and you may do that by simply the affidavit of title, or maybe it will be annexed to a certificate of title with the affidavit of title then attached to the birth certificate recorded in the county, or maybe you'll do a memorandum of trust, or maybe you will do a declaration of trust. Some of that is going to depend on independent research in your county, in regards to whether they accept certifications of trust, declaration of trust. The most important thing is to get some type of title, whether memorandum of trust, affidavit of trust, or something to title and demonstrate who holds ownership of that estate recorded in the county record. You want to do that. Once you have that county recording, prior to doing that, which is an affidavit of title, you execute your trust instruments, which is your declaration of trust, your living trust, the same trust that's going to hold the estate. And then once you execute your trust instruments and you record title on the estate via the affidavit of title or your certification of trust or your memorandum of trust in the county record, then you're ready to do your UCC filing. But here's something that goes without common sense. Don't forget, if you set up a trust, you have a living trust, you have a trust securing the estate, right? That's why you executed the trust instrument. That's why you did the certification of trust. That's why you did the memorandum of trust. Then you go in here and apply for the tax ID number with the IRS, the 98 series foreign tax ID number, because you're operating from your foreign tax exempt status. You should understand that right now, especially acting as the executor or acting in your proper status, right? So that goes without saying. I just want you to see that all of these things, there's an order, but not necessarily an order. It all makes sense when you look at it. So once you've done all those things, then you're ready to file your UCC, which we've seen it before. And I'm going to close out here. These are just some of the forms that you will do when you're structuring that trust that you just set up, right? When you did your declaration of trust, you executed the instrument. You got to apply for a tax ID number for it, and you got to structure it. You got to give the proper information about how you're going to be operating it. That's why you see those forms up there. But that doesn't mean that those forms are going to be behind your UCC financing statement. You may or may not put them there. That's your personal determination. But this is that trust right here. This is called the trust registration statement. Doe L. John Alex Trustee under declaration of trust. Why is it a declaration of trust? Because that's the proper type of trust to do when someone becomes of the age of competent. When someone's of the age of majority, they become competent, they realize that they've been surety, they realize their estate, they have to do an accounting for the property of the estate, which is what executors do, right? They do accountings, they do titles, so you're the trustee of the trust that you're expressing and the general executor for the estate, which we just showed how you're appointed as the general executor out the will and you give notice of your office of the general executor in the first office of government, which is the postmaster general, telling them to change the mailing location for the estate, right? Then the executor becomes the trustee for the living trust, that means the executor is the Doe L. John Alex trustee who's under declaration of trust, dated whatever. What is the DBA for this trust? You know it. It's the John Alex Doe, or the debtor, or what used to be known as the Sesticate Trust or the government trust. Why is it no longer the government Sesticate Trust? Because that all deals with them administering your estate under the law of agency, but where there's a trust relationship, there's no agency relationship. So essentially, by doing this UCC filing and the things preceding it, you're collapsing the trust, okay? So this is why you see the UCC filing and the significance of what's behind it. In this demonstration, you see a memorandum of trust, which hypothetically would have page and book number because it was already recorded in the county. And then this is the collateral. It says the memorandum of trust. If you see down here, it says with attached exhibit A, which is certificate, 4 pages. It's 4 pages because there's the affidavit of title, the QSIP search results, and then the certificate of live birth with some other authentications on it and things like that. Anyways, that's your county recording. That's the asset that you're securing in commerce, which is a separate jurisdiction. And that's why when you see us working over here, we're not really doing any executor talk over here on this side of the status connection, we're just doing trustee talk, trust operating a trust vessel in the seas of commerce.